Here at the Brave New Teaching Podcast, we are always looking for the newest, most engaging, and fantastic books for you, the teachers, to step up your game and enhance your practice. And we have a brand new book recommendation for you that we just couldn't wait for an entire episode to share. If you are looking for a professional development book that's going to serve you over this winter break, or maybe even as a gift to a fellow educator, we have got your next recommendation. You need to check out Roll Call by Dr. Jenna Copper. As you know, Dr. Jenna Copper is one of the greatest friends we have over here at the podcast. You have downloaded her interview with Marie almost more than any other episode. So I know that a lot of you have heard Jenna and her work and what she's up to. So not only should you listen to that episode, but you need to check out Jenna's brand new book. This book is phenomenal. And as you know, Dr. Copper is an education professor and former English teacher. So she's in everything from teaching students to teaching teachers. And she has written the ultimate guide to creating lessons that will really and truly captivate your students while still meeting those all-important standards. This book, Roll Call, is packed with practical strategies and innovative ideas that will transform your classroom. And for a very special bonus time, Jenna is offering an exclusive perspective plan toolkit absolutely free when you purchase Roll Call. It's going to be so awesome, and you are going to love all of the new ideas that you get. You can buy Jenna's book right now on Amazon. So head over to Amazon.com. Find your copy of Roll Call, and then once you have your order, you're going to go to rollcallbonus.com. That's ROLECALLBONUS.com, Roll Call Bonus, or head to today's show notes and claim your free perspective plan toolkit. It's a freebie right now when she's launching her book for the very first time. It's not going to linger around for very long. Your students will thank you, and you're going to thank you, because this is going to make you feel good about teaching and really amp up your energy. We're so excited for you to read it yourselves and let us know what you think. Talk to you soon and enjoy the show.
Well, hello and welcome back to Brave New Teaching, and welcome to, I just knocked over my whole water bottle.
Oh my gosh, you're so
Welcome back.
aggressive.
I know. Well, friends, if you missed the first episode in this little mini collection that we have about the Atlantic article, The Elite College Students Who Can't Read Books, article from The Atlantic in November of 2024, I got a little heated in last week's episode. I started off heated and then just kept getting more pissy throughout the episode. If you have not yet listened to that, I highly suggest you do so. Also because Amanda and I set up the conversation that we're having really well. And I don't know that I'm doing that very well right now.
No, you are. Listen, this makes us all jittery because finally somebody is writing about education in a kind of sort of thoughtful way, and it doesn't do us any good. And there's a lot of frustration there to have a national eye and then be like, yeah, kids aren't reading books. You stop using your cell phone. So,
a couple things before we dive in to this half of this discussion. We would like to really encourage, well, first of all, if you haven't read the article that we're talking about from The Atlantic, head to the show notes. Amanda's got a little hack where you can use your public library card to access The Atlantic and a whole lot of other publications. But also download our free discussion guide that we have created for to accompany you in facilitating this conversation with your department, with other colleagues at school, with parent friends of yours, right? With your administration. Just these sorts of conversations have to happen in an actual real space, because internet trolling is not doing anybody any good. And, we've all gotten into, or we've all borne witness to the comment section on things and how that just doesn't necessarily get anybody anywhere. And we are obviously, if you're listening to this, you're with us. Like, we're committed to actually making things happen, especially for young people, especially for education and the future of education. And so reading is really valuable. That's understatement of the century. So let's help get ourselves to a point where we can talk about reading and reading habits and how to support people, you know?
I mean, it's kind of our thing.
It really is. So again, if you have not yet heard last week's episode, I highly encourage you to go and listen to that. Also, before we get started, our happy hour friends, we're in an implementation. We're in a work.
Yes.
And we've kind of been doing, for those of you who are not part of Happy Hour, we're like basically going in 3-month cycles when it comes to what we are doing over in our Happy Hour membership. And now we're in the like happy hour part of it, where we're having like work hours together, and we're implementing, and we're backwards planning, and we're taking all of the notes on content and things, and we're actually putting them into practice. And so we would love to continue this conversation actually over in Happy Hour as well. So like, if that is something that those of you who are Happy Hour members would like to do at our next little work session, I say bring it up. Let's see what we can talk about.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. Ready to dive in. Let's talk about college. You ready?
I'm ready. I'm so excited.
Okay. Cue the music.
You're listening to Brave New Teaching, and we are so much more than a podcast.
We give teachers the inspiration, support, and tools to challenge the status quo.
I'm Amanda, and I'm a former English teacher from Illinois.
And I'm Marie, and I'm a high school teacher from Southern California.
Join us after the show and happy hour to extend your BNT experience with instant access to our resources, workshops, and courses.
Visit shop.bravenewteaching.com/happy hour to join us today. We're so glad you're here. Enjoy the show. Last week, we talked about a couple of claims in this Atlantic article talking about how Gen Z is reading the fewest amount of books in recent history. And I got all on my high horse about, yes, but what parts of Gen Z? I was like, show me the data. And then we talked about the shift in education towards skill-focused learning and skill-focused schooling, which we are all about. But one of the adverse effects of that is the way that some implement, then that means super short texts. And our students have lost, a lot of our students have lost the stamina to read longer pieces.
Yeah, and the article really just kind of blamed No Child Left Behind. It blamed Common Core with the emphasis on informational texts and standardized tests, and there's all kinds of things being blamed here. But
yeah,
Marie and I basically came to the conclusion that if you follow a curriculum rehab type of a unit plan, you'll be fine. So we don't even need to record this other episode because we already found the solution for you.
Done. Well, and also, like, when has standardized testing ever been the solution? I mean, when in history have we ever been like, oh gosh, you know what? Standardized testing really made that better.
Yeah, never.
Right. And that's part of what we're talking about today is like, yeah, you got to talk to people on the inside if you really want to know what's going on. But first, let's talk about how the absolute rat race to college has, I fear, irrevocably damaged our education system and is currently damaging kids.
In the article, there are quite a few things that make me okay. So first of all, most of this is written, I think, from the perspective, it is written from the perspective of college professors, especially ones in lit, who are looking out of their classroom at groups of kids who are not coming to class having completed or even attempted, in most cases, the reading. And the reading being long,
assigned, yes,
deep, classic works of literature, right? A lot of that. And the kids just, they aren't reading. There's even this section where Daniel Shore, he's the chair of Georgetown's English department. He talks about how students, they can't even concentrate on a 14-line sonnet. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's this experience of the kids once they're in college and that they can't do certain things. But then there's also this like race to get into college. And then once they get there, they can't do the things that colleges need them to do, even though colleges set up their students to perform in a way to get in, to then be in and not be able to do the things, right? So here we are. This is beautiful.
What an interesting paradox. in which we find ourselves.
So,
Well, because again, back to standardized testing. And even though I know a lot of the college system has moved away from some of these things, right? But like, when did an SAT and an ACT prepare a child to read War and Peace?
well, what's funny from the article and from like some of the work that I've done with some schools that I'm working with is that the standardized test score, some colleges are saying in terms of admission,
Yeah.
scores are not that big of a deal for admission. Because
Right.
guess what? We're broke and we need your money.
Right.
However, right now, we're going to take those test scores and all that data that we don't care about for admissions, and we're going to attach it to scholarships.
We're going to attach to scholarships. We're going to attach it to things that then further gatekeep after we've taken your check.
Which is the most sinister thing of them all. And before I'm going to remind Marie and myself and everyone listening that this conversation has to end with control what we can control.
Right.
But we can kind of go off about that a little bit. But at the end of the day, that is what it is. Well beyond our control.
But it's also something to just take note of.
Huge.
Especially as somebody, like, I teach mostly 11th graders who are starting, a lot of them barely starting the conversation, in like the spring about what they're gonna do, what possibilities there are for them. And so having the focus somewhere, on my field of vision, that reminding them that elite colleges, so to speak, are not the only way to go.
100%.
That even state schools, like there are so many great places to get a quality education if that is specifically what you are looking for. And it doesn't all have to look the way that mainstream society. And this is coming from, a girl that went to San Diego State because that was just what I figured I was going to do. Like, I never even thought about the possibilities. So that's part of why, like, keeping this in focus is really going to help with student conversations.
Okay, so let's stay there, Marie. So like when we look at this race to college being completely out of control, let's look at this from a student perspective. I think that this is a reminder to me about how much I've always and still do. I admire teenagers. I have massive empathy for them. And it's easy to forget when they're not doing the work you assigned, or when they're acting like morons, or when they're disappointing you left and right. It's easy to get sucked into like the literal moment and to forget about all this pressure. And even your kids who are not necessarily traditionally college bound, that doesn't mean that pressure isn't still sitting on them.
Oh, it's all around them.
It's everywhere.
Absolutely.
It's heavy. And I think that this is, talk about a productive conversation. I want to remind myself about the empathy to have for kids just in this era, right, of existing with this kind of pressure. And so then the articles goes into kind of saying, so this is a major contributing factor in the shift from, it's shifting in what kids value, right? They value the things that are going to check off the boxes to get them into a school or get them a scholarship. And they're not valuing the big picture, the empathy, the cover to cover. Kids too are valuing skills because that's what's being rewarded.
Well, it's very specific skills. It's the testable skills.
The testable skills.
Because the testable skills, sure, you can play the game of school and do all the testable skills that will get you into college, except for then the kids who are coming back to me as seniors and trying to write their entrance essays, their application essays, and they are dumbfounded because so much of their focus has been on the short, I don't want to say wins, but like the shorter benchmarks and like the stuff instead of, like you're saying, the larger picture. And yeah, kids are they get into college and then they can't cut it.
Yeah.
Because colleges aren't, like I said before, necessarily taking in the information. It's the whole paradox that you set up at the beginning. These students are here and they cannot cut it. Well, they have to do this to be able to get here. Well, the doing this, and this precluded them from being able to cut it.
We're also facing this, I think, parallel problem with AP courses inside the high school, because we're seeing, so one, right, we've had a lot of schools have seen a really positive step toward like taking away anything that's gatekeeping kids from taking AP courses. And that's wonderful. But one of the side effects of that has been kids overstretching themselves and taking AP courses that they just should not be taking.
And taking like 6 at a time. Yes.
I mean, big time. But the reason they're doing it is because they want credit.
Yep.
It's financial.
Yeah.
And so this is a direct mirror, right? They're taking these courses to help alleviate a burden of finances, not cover to cover, not to learn about the world, not to explore their identity.
Well, because a lot of that is a luxury. Sorry, I just totally talked over you. That is a luxury that they quite literally can't afford in all cases.
Which is something that the adults made happen.
Yep.
Again, I want to empathize with kids.
Right.
Because they're doing what they think they need to do to get to be an adult, to get to where they need to get and alleviate the pressure off of their parents, to alleviate financial burdens. And that's where we as adults come into the conversation is if we're going to, and we are, be part of this system, what do the conversations need to look like that we're having with our kids regularly? How do we talk them back off of that race? How do we talk them out of the panic and help them go through their high school and even middle school? How do we help them go through this experience while doing both things? We, I think, have to just keep it top of mind and be talking about it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, I mean, you were saying how do we control the things we can control or focus on the things we can control. Yes. And it's having conversations and listening.
Big time.
Like actually listening, which is very hard.
It starts by like having to admit that we can't just like put our heads down and just say it is what it is.
Right. Or that SAT prep is the best way to spend a class period.
One year, my department actually made that our department goal for the year was to improve our SAT prep. And that was like 400 red flags to get out of there.
Oof.
I think being honest with kids has always been something that both Marie and I are really good at, but I don't know that I always made this conversation a priority. I think I did. I guess it depended on the age and the course and how open the kids were. But I think because this is becoming so much more pressing, I think centering this conversation on a regular basis is huge, and not just leaving it up to the counselor. I think having it in our courses is a uniquely important place with what we do with reading and writing and what we do with the human condition. It's so important to just have space to talk about what's next. And I know Gen Z is sometimes portrayed to be an incredibly like self-centered generation, but I think that they're a very deeply feeling and deeply concerned generation.
Yeah.
That if we can have a conversation with them and not at them, that is going to be one of the keys of, first of all, getting them into books. Second of all, getting them to kind of open up about being able to take a deep breath and like really think about what they're doing rather than just trying to do what the person next to them is.
Well, and taking ownership in the things that they're doing versus just what they think they're supposed to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that they're a very special generation. Like I'm a big fan.
I agree.
It also takes a lot to figure out how to connect with them.
They've got a shell, don't they?
It takes a lot. And it was like, yes. Okay, this conversation is for a different podcast, but the last thing that we want to leave you with is the thing that kept echoing to me, like, hey, thanks, The Atlantic, for, bringing all of this up, and then like allowing blame to just be like vaguely and also overtly laid upon high schools. Even though like, shit, like we've been talking about this for how long? Of course, kids aren't reading as much as they quote unquote should be. But like, how could that be our fault completely? Like how come this not be, and how can it just be like you're saying, just the fault of technology? Like, no, it's not.
No.
There's more. There are more systemic issues at play than just that.
I really think it comes down to what we're doing right now and what we've just said this 1,000 times in this series is making space to have these conversations.
Mhm.
It's just kind of like, I think these are like parallel universes again here is like when we're in school and we're in it, I feel like admin, teachers, staff, we're so zoomed in.
Yeah.
We're so like in the moment, in the week, in the day. And these conversations require a lot of energy, a lot of perspective. They require you to like take 100 steps back from where you are right now to think about the big picture. And I know that that was one of the things that I noticed right away when I left the classroom in 2021 and I started doing PD full time. I knew this was going to happen, but it really did. And I said to myself, I can't wait until I can think about these things all the way to the end of my thought. Because
Yeah.
when I was in the classroom, I would have these like big ideas and big thoughts about education, but they were always interrupted, ended, or I drained out because the immediate need in front of me needed to be solved.
Yep.
And so my call would be to the people who are not in a classroom to find ways to prioritize space and energy and time for teachers to talk. I mean, this is a crisis and things are not going to get easier moving forward, but we keep pushing ahead like we're just going to keep on like freaking just like pushing through. Like there is a literal brick
On the
wall in
wheel.
front of us.
Yes. Just hamster wheel. Keep going. Keep going. We're
No,
going nowhere.
there is a brick wall and it's try or what is it? It's like I had a freaking like pain in my tooth. It was so bad. And it was like, why are you still not at the dentist? Like you are crying yourself to sleep every night. It's a call, right? Like the
Yeah.
kids are part of it. Technology is part of it. AI is part of it. Our political system is part of it. There are so many reasons for the people in charge, school boards, admin, whoever, to say, okay, we got to take a breath. We got to back up. And we've got to get to a place where we are able to figure out on the big picture what we value, how we're going to show that to kids, and how we're going to move forward and practice what we effing preach. I talked to a school about this not too long ago, and we were talking about assessment. And I was asking these teachers, and I said, "Well, what do you say you believe about education? What do you say you believe about kids?" And they're like, "Critical thinking and lifelong learner, and all these beautiful things."
Mm-hmm. And
then I was doing an audit through their assessments, and every single thing that I was finding in their in reading were multiple choice quizzes. And I'm like, how can you say that you value critical thinking, but you're giving multiple choice quizzes for 2 chapters of reading a night? That doesn't add up. And they were like, you're right. It doesn't. But like, it actually, like, talk about having empathy, right? We have empathy for kids. I have empathy for teachers. Of course, they're so focused on getting through like however many preps you have, however many whatever, that they were like, oh my gosh, I don't like that. They're like,
yeah,
they don't add up. And then when those things don't add up, then kids don't believe you when you say that you value critical thinking. And so you need time and space and help to clean up those things and actually move forward to practice what you value.
Yeah.
And that responsibility does not lie on the teachers.
No, it doesn't. But I do want to make sure that we leave our friends and our listeners with things that you can do.
100%.
So, for instance, take a look in the show notes. We've got, like, if we go back to the very basis of this is helping kids get into reading. Let's just make that be it. We have some episodes specifically on helping encourage and foster a space where reading will happen and where students will engage with reading. We've got even when our friend Abby Gross came on in Happy Hour. So Happy Hour members, take a look at the archive, the library, her episode talking about her like genre menus, right? Like look at those sorts of resources. So we'll have all of that, like a little playlist for you in the show notes. Make sure you join us this summer for Camp BNT and read with us. How wonderful would it be to just be able to read and then tell kids about like sitting down and talking to kids about reading, or reading at the same time that kids are reading is some of my favorite things that happen in my classroom.
Read with us, have fun with us, be filled up by great ideas, and read things that make you feel like the kind of educator you want to be.
Yep.
And we're here to support you in that. I mean, finding your people is a key player in this conversation.
And again, that's where that discussion guide comes into play. Like, find ways that you can, entry points for this conversation where you can find out, like, people that you may not have realized are your people. You might realize are your people in this avenue. Okay, friends, this has been a lot. Between last week and this week, this is a lot. Head to the show notes, see what kind of resources we have for you. We want to give you, things can feel really hopeless. And in some ways, you know, maybe they are for a little while, but we're always going to leave you with something tangible because that's the type A personalities we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not all doom and gloom. It's not. We are at an exciting time in education. I mean, we're at a turning point in the history of education, and we are going to come out on the other side better. I know it. And I know that that's why Marie and I are here, and the reason we've been here through the pandemic. We can be here through the next turning point. We can do this.
All right, friends. Thank you so much for joining us. We have had a lovely time. Can't wait to hear some of your thoughts on all of these things. And yeah, we will see you next time.
Bye. Thanks again for listening to Brave New Teaching.
We'd love to keep the conversation going over on Instagram.
And while you're there, check out the links in our bio for the most up-to-date events going on in Happy Hour and the Brave New Teaching community.
Thanks for being here and have a great week at school.